Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest in my video series about Duelyst, produced in partnership with Counterplay Games. This week I want to do something a little bit different. I just recently played against Firebat in the semifinals of the Contest of Grandmasters, and I wanted to go over the replays of my games with him to sort of talk through my thought process. We'll just give you all a look at how the replay feature works. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. To access your replays, go to your profile, click on Match History, and then you can find the game you want to view and just click Replay. So we're jumping into the first game here against Firebat. And the rules for this tournament are that you need to bring one deck of three different factions, three different generals. Here, I am playing my Lionar deck. We're actually just watching through. I'm going to turn off the real time. You can choose how you want to watch it. You can just go through in real time, which will show you the actual gameplay. And here, you can pause it whenever you want. You can go through, just take steps in the turns. But obviously, my first turn just chose to play a Healing Mystic here. I'm just going to go ahead and keep playing through. Firebat playing a Vitruvian deck. I was kind of anticipating that he might be playing a aggressive Vitruvian deck, since aggressive Vitruvian decks are quite popular these days. But the turn one Maw led me to believe they may be playing a little bit less aggressive, more of a sort of mid-range deck. And here, just chose to move my Healing Stick down. Then I chose to play this Silverguard Knight on the Mana Spring tile. So I get two Mana Spring tiles this turn. And I played my Light Chaser down next to my Healing Mystic in the bottom left. I didn't want to be next to my general because of the possibility of Bone Swarm. This, unfortunately, gave Firebat access to be able to attack my minion and Dancing Blades it off of the mana he received from the Mana Spring tile himself. I still end up having a pretty reasonable turn. I replace my Tempest, find a Martyrdom. Fairly excellent here. I'm able to Martyrdom the Dancing Blades, which pumps my Light Chaser, and then just able to go up, kill his Maw, and attack him in the face with my Healing Mystic, use my Bloodborne spell to heal it, and once again pump up my Light Chaser here, and then just move my Light Chaser up a bit closer so it's able to potentially attack next turn. Unfortunately for me here, Firebat had an excellent answer. He was able to use Wind Shroud here, along with the Dunecaster to pump up his Dervish, a second Dunecaster. So he actually developed quite a big board and is able to immediately kill my Light Chaser. So any advantage that I had at that point really went away right there. Here, I chose to just use my Dispel here with the Light Bender. Because the Dispel will remove the buffs from the Wind Dervish, go ahead and immediately able to kill it. And then I cleared out both of these as well. Unfortunately, didn't have a great turn there. Only able to play reactively when I much rather would have played something like a Guardian, and that just leaves an opening for Firebat to play an Aymara healer here. And this is a really tough spot. Ultimately, I chose to play my Elex Stormblade. I'm just going to go ahead and pause for a second. I chose to play my Elex Stormblade here. I wanted to ensure that he wasn't able to just attack me with the Aymara healer. One of my options that I actually thought about after the fact was that I could have potentially used my general and my Light Bender to just kill his Aymara healer. I would have taken a lot of damage in the process. I would have taken 10 damage by attacking into it, plus the Dying Wish ability of Aymara healer, and then I could have potentially placed Elex Stormblade somewhere else. The big problem here, what I was afraid of, was the possibility of Firebat having Entropic Decay. Entropic Decay would allow him to just kill my Elex Stormblade. Another option that I considered was playing Lightbender and just killing his Aymara healer straight up. The problem with that is that it's extremely reactive play that still only leaves me with a Lightbender in play that's just not that powerful. And if he has anything else that's relatively powerful, it's a really bad spot for me anyway. So it felt like I was better off just trying to hope that he didn't have a great answer to Elix this turn. And if he couldn't kill it immediately, then I could potentially use the Lightbender to remove the ability of Aymara Healer and kind of just run away with the game. Unfortunately for me, he didn't just have Entropic Decay, he actually had something much, much worse for me. He just moves down, plays Dominate Will here on my Elix. We'll see that in a moment. Boom! Steals it. And unfortunately for me, as we see by emote there, one of my favorite parts of replays is you can actually just see emotes. And he just attacks me in the face. And then my thought process here was that, once again, I could kind of hope that he just doesn't have a great answer here. I'm going to attack that and kill it with my Lightbender, play my Ironcliff Guardian, and just heal myself. I could have run away here, but if he has any answer to Ironcliff Guardian, the movement bonus that Elix Stormblade would give him would allow him to just catch me anyway. So unfortunately he had the Entropic Decay as well. And then here I just kind of get pummeled by gigantic minions. My own gigantic minions, sadly, as the tier emote would suggest. And yeah, he just piles a ton of damage into me. And unfortunately, not much I can do. Down to just one life. And then here, I commit Sudoku, as the Twitch community might call it, and end up losing the first game. So I open up the series, which is best 3 out of 5, with a game 1 loss. So for the second game, I decided to switch to my Vanar deck. Because Firebat had won with his Vitruvian deck, he is no longer able to play it. The rules are that you have to play the 3 different factions. You have to get a win with each of your factions. So here I was playing my Vanar aggro deck. I was kind of suspecting that Firebat was playing a similar style of deck. It's generally what I think makes sense to use with Kara's Bloodborne spell. Kara's Bloodborne spell buffing up all your minions works extremely well with an aggressive deck that's looking to get value out of small minions later on. So here I didn't have a great opening. I could have played Mystic into Mystic. I decided I wanted to just fill up my hand with minions to make my Bloodborne spell more powerful as the game goes on. Firebat didn't have any play on the next turn, which was quite good for me. Allowed me to take over the middle of the board with my Primus Shieldmaster, denying him the ability to actually access either of the 2 Mana Spring tiles. He is able to answer my Shieldmaster with a Cryogenesis and attack, but that gives me an extremely powerful next turn. And at this point, Firebat even burns a card from his Cryogenesis because or rather from his draw step because of his Cryogenesis. And then here I just have a nearly full hand of minions that I am able to get my Kinetic Surge on. And I get access to both of the Mana Spring tiles. I can just play my Cloaker here, end up playing my Healing Mystic, healing myself up, then attacking my opponent, playing my next Healing Mystic. So I've gotten Kinetic Surge off on all 3 of these minions. So I have 3 different 3/4s on the board to absolutely no minions from Firebat. And at this point, I'm understandably, I think, feeling pretty good about this game. But Firebat has some pretty good answers. He's able to use a Saberspine Tiger here to clear out one of my minions, and then a Chromatic Cold, which removes the buff and the bonuses on my Crystal Cloaker, so he gets to finish it off with an attack. Because of the specific positioning of my minions now, I actually can't attack him with both my General and my Mystic, because they both need to be in this spot. So I just decide that I'm going to just keep pushing my my advantage here. Just play the Arctic Displacer. This is normally a card that I'm looking to play late game, maybe in combination with Spirit of the Wild. But in this state, it just represents nearly lethal damage if Firebat doesn't deal with it. So he does have a great answer, though. Aspect of the Fox plus Dancing Blades clears my minion and leaves him with the biggest thing on the board. But I have exactly that same answer on my following turn. So I'm just going to go ahead and end up buffing my hand here with Kinetic Surge and making the exact same play right back at Firebat. I end up Aspect of the Fox, his big minion, play my big Dancing Blades, and this has now been buffed twice by Kinetic Surge, so it's especially powerful. And Firebat is now very, very low in health here, but has, pretty good defensive turn. He's able to play a large provoke minion with the buffed Shield Master and return my Dancing Blades to my hand. Now, most of my minions in my hand aren't really particularly heavily buffed. And I decided that I'm just going to try and push my advantage as I can here. I use the Hearth Sister here to swap the Shield Master as far away as I can from the rest of my minions to allow me to just keep pushing my advantage. One of the things about Vanar in general is it doesn't have good area effect clears, so I decided that I was just going to pile as much damage into Firebat as I could and just kind of try and overwhelm him with this board presence. He's able to use his Shield Master to clear out one of those minions and retreat behind it, and then play a pretty unexpected card right here. So the Bone Reaper. This is not a card that I was expecting to see from him, and it ends up being a really big problem because 3/10 provoke, thanks to the kinetic power on it, ends up killing the first half of one of my Fenrir's, and I don't have quite enough damage to actually even kill it in a single turn. My Dancing Blades is able to get some damage onto it, and then my Fenrir clears this, and I just kind of pile as much damage into the Bone Reaper as I can, and just try and ensure that it's not going to survive another turn. Play my Cloaker up here to get it away from his Bone Reaper so he can potentially not protect himself from it, or even potentially kill it with Bone Reaper or something. But he does have Cryogenesis into a Saber Spine Tiger here, which he uses to clear off my Dancing Blades, or at least get a bunch of damage on it. So a bunch of removal here, keeping the board relatively clear, and the Bone Reaper's effect to do 2 damage at the end of turn to each enemy ends up totally clearing off my board now. So we're both running very low on cards, but Kinetic Surge plus Tiger is very powerful here. I'm able to buff it up to a 4/3, and we're now at the sort of final turns of the game. The 9 mana means that we're each able to use Kinetic Surge every turn. So I get him down to just 2 life with this Tiger here, and I'm thinking, okay, I could have potentially held on to that and buffed it up until it was lethal, but I didn't want him to be able to play some sort of provoke to keep himself alive. This actually, I think, by the way, was a mistake where I placed it. It should have been 1 row lower. It doesn't really matter because he can move and blades it either way, but it would force him to at least like move in a specific direction. So here, again, I'm just kind of trying to find a way to close out this game. Firebat's just at 2 life. If I find a Chromatic Cold or another Tiger, looks like I should be able to finish the game. But he is just still hanging on, and plays an Emerald Rejuvenator, healing himself up to 6. So now Chromatic Cold no longer able to immediately defeat him. And here I decide, okay, well, I just need to dig. I'm no longer really nearly as big of an advantage as I was before, but I still need to find a way to close out this game. It looks like Firebat's playing a deck that has more individually powerful cards than me, so the longer the game goes, kind of the worse it is for me, because he may be able to draw into those more individually powerful cards. So I just need to kind of get things going with Spelljammer. Spelljammer will allow Firebat to draw additional cards, but I need to just dig through and find something, because if we're each just kind of going card for card and he has more powerful cards in his deck than me, it's going to end up ultimately going his way. So just keeping this Spelljammer going, Kinetic Surge up here. This does allow me to take out his Dancing Blades, and I'm actually getting kind of precariously low. I attack into the Dancing Blades, use my blades to kill it, and then I'm just going to go ahead and trap his Healing Mystic between 2 Spelljammers here. But I'm down to 10. Previously he was at 2. I was in my 20s at some point. But the game has sort of progressed long enough, and I've had to use my general to kill enough minions that this is sort of becoming a problem. And Ash Method, which is a very powerful card, obviously with the Bloodborne spell. I have my Ash Method of my own in my hand, but it has not yet gotten buffed. And he's able to, just suddenly build a pretty big board, and this is kind of threatening. So I use my Cryogenesis to remove one of the Ash Methods. I unfortunately am out of any Vespir creatures, so it doesn't actually find anything for me in my deck. But it is time for me to just do as much clearing as I can here. I take out his minions here, and just going ahead and getting as big of a board presence as I can. We're both still just digging with these Spelljammers here, so very, very resource-intensive game all of a sudden. We were both kind of scraping by with nothing. But here, this is exactly what I was looking for. I find not only Chromatic Cold, but also 2 copies of Saberspine Tiger. And that's a pretty big deal. It gives me the ability to not only potentially kill him with the Tigers, but also to do it through a Provoke minion thanks to Chromatic Cold. And this is actually, this may not look like it, he plays a Hollow Grovekeeper, which is in this instance, just a 7/8 minion. This is actually a big deal, though. Not because of the fact that he got any sort of effect out of it, because he's going to die this turn. I'm going to go ahead and play a pair of Saberspine Tigers, close enough, just in range to run up and kill him. But the fact that he played this here meant that I know this is in his deck. I know that he has the ability to kill, provoke, and frenzy minions with Hollow Grovekeeper, which is information that I have going into future games that's absolutely crucial. So for the next game, I went to my Lionar deck, having won with my Vanar. And this is really where the information from the previous game is very, very important. I've seen Firebat's Vanar deck in action already, so now I know what's in it. So I have a pretty reasonable opening here that unfortunately doesn't improve very much. I'm only able to play a single 2-drop in the first turn, so not a great turn 1 from me here. I choose to play it down here because I don't want my opponent to be able to attack it and potentially kill it. So I want to be able to use it to access this Mana Spring tile. So my opponent plays the Crystal Cloaker here and just ends up cryogenesising my Healing Mystic, so it doesn't really matter that it was defended. So I decide that I'm going to go ahead and kill his Crystal Cloaker. I replace the Windblade Adept because it doesn't really fit my curve the next couple turns. Play the Maiden here and attack his Cloaker. That gives me the 1 mana to use Blood Tear Alchemist rather, and kill his Crystal Cloaker. So I play my Alchemist back here. Don't want my opponent to be able to attack it potentially. And then here Firebat is kind of setting up, for his Kinetic Surge value turns. And he does exactly that. Surges up here. And he's able to use Chromatic Cold to hit my Suntide Maiden, removing its ability. That's pretty crucial. With the pair of Sunrisers in my hand, my Suntide Maiden's ability to heal itself at the end of my turns with Zeal is actually very, very valuable. And this, I think, may have actually been a little bit of a mistake here. I could have moved up and attacked my opponent's Healing Mystic, and used the Sunriser ability to damage my opponent as well as the Mystic. My thought process was that I wanted to just attack my opponent with my General as well, to just pile as much damage in as I could. The key here is actually that the Vanar deck kind of has inevitability. Kinetic Surge gives you so much power as the game goes on that it's very important, even for a controlling Lionar deck, to try and get as aggressive as possible. And here, double Hailstone Prison from Firebat returns both of my minions to my hand. So now, all of a sudden, I don't really have much of a board at all after having a pretty great position that last turn. And here, I still have to deal with this Healing Mystic in play. Just go ahead and, again though, I'm just piling damage on my opponent. Choose to play my Maiden here and my Windblade Adept behind me. This protects Windblade Adept from a Dancing Blades. Because my General blocks it off, this prevents Firebat from being able to use Dancing Blades to kill the 3 health Windblade Adept, which is fairly important. He uses the Kinetic Surge and backs up. Going to go ahead and just turn my guy into a Fox and play a Shield Maiden, Shield Master, not Shield Maiden. And interestingly, this Healing Mystic that I had thought that maybe I should have killed before. Hasn't really done a single thing since then. Lightbender here removes the buff from the Shieldmaster, both of the buffs, allows me to kill it with just a general attack and my Windblade Adept. That allows the Ravager to just run up and punch my opponent in the face. And then I play, again, another Windblade Adept and just heal the Ravager. And as I mentioned, my plan here is really just getting as much pressure on Kara as possible to prevent us from getting to the late game where the Kinetic Surge is just going to overwhelm all the rest of the power level of my cards. I've now used 2 Lightbenders, which means I don't have that many other answers. So here, Ancient Grove, not super valuable here, simply because I'm able to remove it relatively easily. I end up walking up with my General first, because it's important that I'm nearby for the Adept to get Zeal. Allows it to just attack there. And this I actually think was a little bit of a mistake. I should have moved my Lightbender down and attacked it here, because that would have potentially blocked off places for my opponent to actually play minions. So here, I play, and this I think I kind of mispositioned my Sunrisers. I should have played Sunriser in front of him and to the right of him, because that would prevent him from being able to move upwards. He could only play a minion in one spot here, but he does end up playing a Tiger, killing one of my Sunrisers. It's actually a bit of a mistake from Firebat, because he kills the lower Sunriser, which prevents him from having any ability to actually get away and play a healing effect. We see he plays Rejuvenator here, but because he's next to a Sunriser, it just still hits him, and now he's just dead on board to my 5 damage plus Afterglow that I am able to just punch into him here. Didn't really matter because I had Tempest anyway, so even if he had escaped and not taken the 2 damage on his General, I would have been able to kill him with Tempest as well. So, as we see there, just the line of play that I took in pretty much every instance, despite playing a generally fairly controlling mid-range style of deck, was aggressive, because my understanding of the texture of the matchup was that it was important for me to pressure him before he could get just a lot of value on his minions in his hand thanks to Kinetic Surge. So taking an aggressive line ended up working out very well for me there. And this game, Firebat chose to switch to his Lionar deck, while I am playing my Magmar ramp deck. This, I think, is generally a very good matchup in general for Magmar. You just have lots of powerful mid-range minions and removal like Eggmorph to deal with the big minions that Lionar is capable of generating. And I have a very very good hand here. He plays an Azurite Lion turn 1. I replace one of my Vindicators for the perfect card, getting a Blood Tear Alchemist. This lets me play Vindicator in the middle Mana Spring tile here, getting a mana, which allows me to play Blood Tear Alchemist, which pings his Lion for 1 and gets to attack. I then move my Vindicator up top because I wanted to keep it out of any attack range of him and still have access to the Mana Spring tile potentially the following turn. So this is already a great situation for me. Having a Vindicator in play to give my first minion each turn rush is just exceptionally powerful. He plays a Silverguard Knight, but I replace the Earth Sphere here because I'm not really in any danger of dying at this point. Able to play the Veteran Silithar. I actually played it here because I wanted to have access to the Mana Spring tile potentially. I think that may have been an error. I could have potentially just taken the tile and attacked there. Then I also may have been an error not to move my Vindicator here. I chose to keep it here because I wanted immediate access to the tile if I chose to do so. But by leaving the tile open, he's able to play a Tiger here and kill my Vindicator, and then use Tempest as well to take out my Veteran Silithar and the Egg. He couldn't do the other order. He had to play the Tiger to get the extra mana to be able to play a total of 5 because he only had 5 crystals. I'm still in a great position though. I end up just moving down here to play my Spirit Harvester on the Mana Spring tile. That gives me an additional mana, which I'm able to use for my Bloodborne spell Overload. And Overload, this is particularly important in a matchup against Lionar, for instance, because A, he's playing an aggressive deck that wants to trade general damage with me. So putting him in a situation where his general damage is worse against me because I'm hitting him for more is valuable. It's also especially valuable against Arclight Regalia, because Arclight Regalia only prevents 2 damage. Once my general damage gets to 3, he can no longer attack me for free without losing charges of Regalia. I have a Egg-Morph to remove his Iron Cliff Guardian, and I chose not to attack him here. Just wanted to play a young Silithar. My Spirit Harvester kills the egg. I don't bother attacking. But again, I didn't want to just attack him here because I feel like if the game goes on long, I have a significant advantage because my deck is full of very, very, very powerful minions. He's able to use Dancing Blades to kill my Harvester. And here he attacks the Silithar, despite the fact that my Silithar is going to survive with Egg. And this is a perfect replace. But he attacked that because he didn't want me to be able to perhaps play a Manticore Warbeast and use it plus the young Silithar to kill the 6/6. Unfortunately for him, I just have an 8/8. I moved back and placed it here. The idea of that is that I wanted to ensure that every one of the possible egg locations was away from his potential attacking guys, or at least as far as possible. If it had spawned exactly here, he could have killed the egg with the Dancing Blades. But I also wanted the Silithar to be in a position where it could move up and attack. So it was kind of just a attempt to give myself the best chance to protect my spawns while also ensuring the Silithar is able to actually get into the action here. I overload up to 4, and just deciding to split my board presence here, I'm playing around the possibility of a Holy Immolation here. I didn't want to just have a pile of minions in case he has Holy Immolation for AoE effect. And I use the Healing Mystic to heal up the Silithar Elder to make it more difficult for him to remove. We're just kind of getting to a point where I have so many large minions that he is in a really, really rough spot. He does have a pretty reasonable turn to just kind of stay alive here at least. Repulsor Beast sends my Silithar Elder to the corner, so it's no longer able to at least immediately influence the battle, can't fly over. He kills one of my eggs, and puts a second knight over here. The knight over here potentially stops me from playing something like a War Beast or attacking my general, but I have Metamorphosis, which turns both of his provokes into 1/1s that no longer have provoke, and I'm able to overload, rock up, punch in the face, and then both of my young Silithar and Healing Mystic are able to just come in and attack for 8 So I hope you guys enjoyed this look at my thought process in my games against Firebat. I think it was a really good series. Came back from the loss in the first, had a really epic second game, but was able to use that information that I was able to get in that game 2 about the Hollow Grovekeepers in his deck to just really change my strategy around and never play a provoke minion in the second game, just going as aggressive as I could and end the game with what I'm sure were a bunch of Grovekeepers stranded in his hand as I just replaced every provoke minion. So anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know what you think about this kind of content, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.